everyone. Thank you once again for taking our time to join us on another session of the MCT Nigeria M365 user group. Um, for those that have been waiting for a while now, thank you for the patience. And for those that are just joining us, thank you for taking our time once again. The Nigeria M365 user group is one of those communities in the MCT in Nigeria that is all about fostering knowledge on Windows 10, Office 365, enterprise mobility and security, and a bit of Azure, really. So this is our sixth episode for the year, and then we've been having fantastic speakers that have been coming up to the program, and they've been taking us through some very interesting topic. For today, we have another interesting speaker, and the name of that person is no other person than Timothy Iyamu. Timothy is a data center manager with IHS Towers, is a cloud expert and MCT also, is a Microsoft 365 enterprise administrator and expert, is also an M365 security expert. Timothy is an information technology professional with in-depth knowledge in industry-leading solutions and technologies such as the Microsoft Exchange, the Windows Active Directory, the Microsoft 365, Azure, and SCCM. He has over 10 years of experience in the IT industry. I have worked closely with him sometime, even though I had an opportunity to have a deployment with him, but I think I also learned from him. So, as the data center manager of IHS Towers, he's responsible for overseeing the data center operations. I don't want to bore you so much about speaking about him, but I think he will do justice to his profile while introducing himself. And today he will be taking us on a very interesting topic, and that topic is Microsoft 365 usage analytics. What we found out is that while we are all working from home, how do we keep tab of what our users are, of the services, the M365 services they're consuming, and how well are they consuming it, adopting it? Do we have a better visibility to that? He's going to do justice to all of that. But before I hand over the session to him, a little bit of housekeeping. This session will be recorded and will be made available for future viewing. We've done this in the past. You can always subscribe to our YouTube, which I'll get to very shortly, and then you can look at every of the recordings that we have uploaded to the YouTube channel. Please, like I said earlier, this session will be recorded, it will be made available. So please, one of the things I'd like to let you know ahead of time is that informations that are pertaining to your name, your email may be taken during this session because of it being recorded. Mind you, we'll also want you to mute your microphone when you're not speaking. This will help not to distract the speaker or the presenter and even other audience. And also, please do help us pen down your question until the Q&A session. Will be willing to take it. Follow us on our Twitter. That's the Twitter handle there, ng at M365. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up to date on all of our events. One last thing, we value your feedback. We want to know how we're doing. If we're doing well, please let us know. And if there's any area of improvement you would like us to know, please do give us your feedback. We do value it. And then if you want to volunteer as a speaker on this program, please do let us know why you feel the feedback form. So without wasting much of your time, I'm going to be handing over to Timothy to do justice to the topic. So over to you, Timothy.
Thank you, Jumoke. Truly appreciate that long introduction of my very self. I don't need to say anything about myself. I'm just an IT person, and I love working with people who are in this field. Of course, other field as well, because we are enablers. Whether we like it or not, we are enablers to our organizations. There are so many requests that will come. If IT is not in the forefront, then there are issues. So I love what I find myself doing regularly. I love my team, and I'm sure some of them are also watching this now. they can say a lot about me in terms of my profile, and but what you have said actually it covers it all. Aside from that, I love to read and I love to teach. It's a hobby. I just like sharing knowledge. And when I was invited for this, I was happy about it. And yes, here I am. Here I am to share some knowledge that all of us, some of us, all of us, in fact, know. I know we have various people in the audience. Some of us are already consultants. Some are already well advanced in the field of technology. So I can learn from you as well. So on the aspect of questions, I know I will get more from you, and I'll be willing to answer your questions. And of course, your insight as well as respect what we are going to discuss today means a lot to me and to the audience. So feel free to ask your question and of course contribute to this session because we truly need it. Yes, the topic again has to do with Office 365, its usage, and the objective of this entire program today is just to help us to see, is someone seeing you working? And just before the program started, I was discussing with Jumoke and we came up with something as respect remote working. And I was talking about James. So James is in the call, and I said, just imagine someone who works in the office on a normal basis, and he closed by 5:30. Sometimes, yes, the boss will say, please, you need to close this project. You need to stay back. Well, fine. He leaves the office by 7 or 7:30 or 8. Between that time he leaves the office and getting home, nobody needs to call him. In fact, the boss will say, oh, I'll be very wicked if I call him. He's on his way home. But that's different. There's a different paradigm to working now because IT has done something great. And of course, we truly appreciate Microsoft for all the solutions they have provided that has made it possible for us to cope with the pandemic. It has changed the world completely, and many people are asking various questions too, as respect, will it change? Will we go to the normal, or will it remain the same? Will we have some staff who will be working from home, and while some staff are in the office, and some people will be saying, I'm overloaded with work. While some people at home, they're just chilling out. They're not working. Well, the Microsoft usage analytics will help us to see what is happening in our own tenant. If you are using Office 365, yes, and I'm sure most of us are already on Office 365, we will see what normally happens on a monthly basis, 30 days duration. What happens? How many emails do you get? How many meetings did you attend? And all of that. That is the essence of this discussion or forum today. We are going to find out how we can see what is actually happening in our own tenant. Again, it's not just talk, and you might be wondering why have I not shared my slide. I will share it, but I just feel this is something that all of us need to know how to do. Some of us might be global admin in our own tenant. Some of us might be exchange admin and other things on our own tenant. But do you have an overview of this? Can you see these things? If you have the capability to do it, how can you do it so that you see this? Another concern too that we are going to consider today or help all of us to appreciate is sometimes in management meetings, people will come up saying, why is it IT requesting for this, requesting for this? The last time they requested for a big TV, a big screen, to see what? You know, they're just consuming. So why are we spending so much money? Or here you come again, Office 365. Oh, look at the licenses. We're above 2,000 or 3,000. And for each person, we are spending on a monthly basis $20 or $35. You calculate that. And we're spending so much money. So what is actually happening? Are the staff actually using it? Let us see, give us evidence. Sometimes you can find yourself in that fixed situation, of course, at the high level, trying to justify that, yes, we truly need distance. But again, this forum will help us to see how we can show the organization that, yes, something is actually happening. And again, sometimes people doubt, like I mentioned earlier on, that are they actually working? You say this guy is working from home. This lady is working from home. What's she doing? She needs to be in the office. Okay, we have so much sanitizers now. We will give everybody your hand. See, I just removed my face mask because I'm in the room. Well, you put on your face mask. They need to be in the office. You need to see them. They must, and all of that. Yes, it is true. But how can you show that, yes, people are actually working? We're not going to talk about setting up of Office 365. Okay, do you have Active Directory? Do you have AD Connect that will sync with Office 365? We're not going to talk about it, but there are some parameters that are truly needed that will also show on the dashboard as well, which of course will help everyone to truly appreciate what we are discussing about. Office 365 usage analytic, in a layman's term, we are technical people, but I'm sure people who are not also technical can also watch this video. So we're going to make it simple. It is simple. On your tenant, there is what we call the report interface. That report interface has I will share my screen later, but I'm just talking now. Now, it has an interface called usage. On that usage, you see things like, Exchange, you see things like Teams, you see things like Skype for Business, if you're still using Skype for Business, SharePoint, the activities that are carried out within the tenant. Now, yes, at this point in time, let me share my screen now, and so we can talk about it, and then you see what I'm actually trying to convey to you. Now, this is for later time. I have this. This, if you wish to have the slide, I'm going to share it with you. And like I mentioned earlier on, Office 365 usage analytics, it's more of gathering data on our tenants. Now, but it comes with something. It comes with the ability also for us to analyze what is actually happening in our environment. So the data that you have in Office 365, you're not using it to communicate with Power BI. That is actually what this is all about. How can you use Power BI to be able to see what is actually happening, interpret the information, interpret the report in a way that anyone not having technical insight at all, technical skills, will be able to appreciate what is actually happening in your tenant. Now, the dashboard, which we're going to show you later on, of course, we're also going to do some hands-on, has what we call an executive summary. That executive summary contains a lot of information. But of course, like we mentioned, it's a summary. So you see things like your usage, you see things like mobility. Mobility, we are talking about how many users have set up their Outlook, have set up their Teams on their mobile devices. You see things like that. When we come to the page, the interface, you see it yourself. You see things like adoption. We have Microsoft Teams. We have over 2,000, 3,000 staffs. How many people are using it? What's the percentage like? Is it below 50% or is it above 50%? You see things like that on the executive summary. You're also going to see what we call communication. Are people actually on silos mode all the time, working on their own, on a monthly basis? You just see this person working on his own. He's not communicating with anybody. Is that possible now? Well, you'll see that. Collaboration has to do your OneDrive, your SharePoint. Are you sharing information? Are you sharing data? Are you sharing files? All of this, you see it on the executive summary. So if you share this with your executive, which of course you're going to see how to do it will also help them to appreciate what is actually happening in your environment. So in just the summary, you see actually what is happening. So that's template of Power BI connecting with your Office 365 usage page or reporting gives you that information. Aside from that, aside from the executive summary, you now have what we call the overview. The overview now breaks it down. It tells you, like I mentioned earlier, the usage. Now the usage, is it just for 1 month? No, the answer is no. 12 months. For instance, you are in the month of May. So I should be seeing from my dashboard from the month of June down to May. So once we get to June, I'll be seeing from July to August and all of that. So you're going to see 1 full year. What has this individual done? Have we adopted Microsoft Teams? Have we adopted Outlook, Exchange? What is actually happening? Are we having more staffs than usual? Is it increasing or is it decreasing? So you see it on the glass. What is actually happening in your own environment? Like I mentioned, collaboration, yes, Yama. People need to discuss. That is official, in quote, Facebook in your organization. You chat, send information, share pictures, what is actually happening in your environment. All of this, you see it on the overview, and it has its dashboard, it's reporting. You see the statistics over there. Now, like I mentioned earlier on, for some of us who are using, who are under enterprise agreement, after a period of time, most times 3 years, of course, they'll come with assessments. And I'm sure Jumoke will be smiling as I mention this. They'll come with assessments. Sam, what is actually happening in your environment? Have you used, overused? Are there throw-ups in your environment in terms of licenses? But this time, it has nothing to do with your SQL licenses and all of that. But this time, it has to do with, oh, the E5 licenses that you have. Are you using it? Can you reduce? If you have purchased 3,000, and most times, in more than 12, 5, 6, 7 months, you are just using 900 active users. Does it make sense in terms of cost for you to keep that high? How many people are actually using the licenses, all of that? You see it for yourself. And so it helps you, the IT manager, the CIO, and even at the executive level to also tell what is actually happening with the licenses we are purchasing. And mind you, we find ourselves in an environment where the dollar is increasing by the order of the day. And people start asking, oh, are we not spending so much? Are we not spending so much? If you're buying this license, okay, $45, use that on a monthly basis. You take the average. Presently, I think maybe we're using like 100 and something or $245 in a year for a user. Is it not high? What should we do? All of that, this place, this interface will help you to see what is actually happening and how you can forecast. At the same time, take a good analysis in your environment and do some housekeeping if possible. So that is possible because of Microsoft usage analytics. Again, this is the combination of what the usage interface on Microsoft Office 365 dashboard and Power BI, the capability of Power BI to dig deep to see what is actually happening in your environment. I've actually explained the usage, what usage is all about. And indeed, you find it very interesting to see what is actually happening in an active environment. One that is really intriguing to me, and I'm sure when I share this with my team too, they were also thrilled, and some of the people who we normally share this report to, is user activity. Now, user activity is quite unique, and that's why I emphasize that, yes, we are not going to talk about Active Directory, but there are some attributes that it will certainly pick from your organization, from our organization, in terms of what is on the Active Directory attributes. Things like location, things like department, things like company. So for instance, yes, I work with IHS stores, and we have offices in Rwanda, in Cameroon, in Dubai, in UK, here we have in Nigeria, and all other countries. Now we can see from these parts, once you filter down what happens in each company, who is actually at the top front, which department is actually using Office 365, who are actually adopting these resources in such a way that, yes, we can say these people are doing well. We need to commend them. Yes, they are working hard. And on this part too, you see things like the total activities this individual have done for the month, a period of 30 days. How many mails did the person receive? How many mails did he or she read or read? You'll be able to see it. And how many meetings did the person attend? You will see all of this. At this point in time, I'm just going to share the slide, another slide with you to see all that I've been talking about. I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to put it on presentation mode now. And yeah, this is what I'm talking about. This is for a particular organization. Now, on this particular month, which is February, you can actually see that in terms of the executive summary, you can see that active users here is 87.4%. Now, you can also see that, yes, they have people who use many users that have been enabled, but who are actually active, who are actually using these resources accordingly. Out of this 2,770, we have 2,422 users. And you can see that of the usage. The usage here, you see things for Office 365 itself, you see on Exchange, you see for Teams, you see for SharePoint, you see for OneDrive, you see for Yammer. And then interestingly, because of the trend, what is actually happening, you notice that for Teams, Teams is increasing. But for Skype for Business, what is happening? It is reducing. So you can see the adoption here. Yes, the organization, they now understand that Teams is what we should be using. Skype for Business, no. And why maybe some of the users here are actually using Skype for Business is because they are on E5 licenses and they need to make calls, because the migration have not been done to Microsoft Teams. So you see the percentage there has reduced, or is actually coming down 13.5%. Now, mobility, like I mentioned earlier, talking on the slide, give summary of it. You can see here what you have on the dashboard. So you see the apps on Outlook, how many people are using it. On mobile, you see on the web how many, and on your phone as well. So you see the communication as well. When you're talking about communication, we're talking about Exchange, we're talking about Teams, Yammer, and Skype. So that you must understand. So when you're discussing with your management team that, okay, are we doing quite well in communicating with one another? Are we actually sharing information? We are not on silos. This dashboard is able to can tell the management that, yes, we're actually sending emails to one another. We're using Teams, we're communicating, we're sharing our ideas together, rather than being on our own. And you talk about collaboration. Collaboration has to do with the OneDrive and, of course, SharePoint. Of course, one is actually carrying one. I know all of us are technical people here, and so we know that. So OneDrive, how many people put their document on OneDrive? Yes, we are working from home. Are people actually using OneDrive? This can tell. SharePoint, are we using it? That within the organization, you share information, different departments can see all their documents and can easily go there, read it, in case maybe there are policies and then, okay, fine, we need to share these policies to all so that everybody will be aware. Yes, this dashboard is able to tell how many people are actually using the resources or the tools that we have provided as IT team. Now, you see the aspect of storage as well. Are we doing quite well in terms of information? You see it, the number is there. So you can see for Exchange, you see for OneDrive, you see for SharePoint. So at this point in time, let's leave the talk. Let's go to the dashboard. I've actually opened my own tenant. So we have here the homepage for the admin, right? And yes, this is my personal for training. So this is the admin interface. And most times you can see there's not much money here, but there are licenses. Now, like we mentioned earlier on, what do you need to see? What do you need to do? Once you go into the admin interface, there is an interface called reports. Let me drop it down. Yeah. So usually once you log into the admin interface, this is what you see. All right. And you have users, you have groups and all of that. And what you need to do is to drop the report and then you come to usage. Now this is a tenant that is not actively used, just few users. And so, but I'm using this to show you how you can use this and get that wonderful report, nice report that everybody truly will appreciate about what is actually happening in your environment. So we have here, like I mentioned, you can see active users. This is one. In a big organization, you would see more than 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 on this interface. All right. Now, if you notice, this is actually 30 days. You can adjust it to 180 days. You can adjust it to 90 days. You can adjust it to 7 days. But usually, I normally keep mine at 30 days. And even in the organization I work in, IHS stores, you see on a 30 days, you see what is actually happening. Now you have here 2 active users. Yes, I created 2 active users. And you can see here Microsoft 365 apps. What is actually happening? Have I been using it recently? On a large organization, you're going to see this. Now, email activity, you're going to see this. If you notice, they are all in bits, in bits, in bits, in bits. And you can see more information once you drill down, you see other information that you need to get, right? But we'll go back. Now, what we actually want to do is on this interface. You will see here, it says, get the most from your subscription. Analyze and explore usage data in Power BI. You notice the emphasis there, it's get the most from your subscription. And that's what we are preaching today. We want you to get the most on your subscription. We want you to tell your senior management staff in IT that, look, we can get the most from Office 365 if we use this. We need to see what is actually happening in our environment. Yes, someone can come here, use your sniping tool and send a report saying, okay, this is what is actually happening on a 30-day period. This is what we did. Yes, but I think it's manual, and I'm sure you know it's manual. Fine, you put it in your PowerPoint and then you present to the management. That's good. But it's quite different using Microsoft 365 Usage Analytics. Now, this morning, I actually did this morning. Once you do come here, it's quite different from what you see on the interface. And what I did this morning, just to let everybody know, I'm sure you're seeing my screen. I had to do this so that we see this. I'm going to open it now and I'm dragging it. If you notice, what you will actually see on your own tenant, if you have not started using Microsoft 365 Usage Analytics, what you'll see is just this. You will see the icon here, Get Started. So you click on Get Started. Now, once you click on Get Started, you go to another interface will come up, and that interface will tell you something that you need to do. All of us need to do it. It's a must. What we need to do, you can see here, use Power BI to analyze and understand your organization's usage analytics. To turn on this service, you need to allow Microsoft 365 Usage Analytics for Power BI to access your organization's data. So we are now giving Microsoft the capability to read what we have in our own tenant. And so what we need to do is simply come here and do what? Check it. Check the box that says make organization usage data available to Microsoft 365 Usage Analytics for Power BI. You have to do this once you're setting it up. And so I did that this morning, and it takes you to another interface. Now, the interface you see next is this. We are getting your data ready for Microsoft 365 Usage Analytics. This can sometimes take a while. Please check again later. Yes. So once you do this, sometimes, depending on the tenant, it might take 15 minutes, it might take 2 hours. Sometimes it can take beyond that. So don't rush. Nothing has happened. Nothing has spoiled. Because someone will say, oh, it's not working, so something is wrong somewhere. Okay, we need to do this, we need to troubleshoot. Don't put yourself under pressure. Imagine an organization that has just 50 people in that organization, all right? And they have been sending mails, they're using Microsoft Teams, they're using Skype for Business, they're using OneDrive, they're using all of the apps, all right? 50 people. Then you have another organization that has 50,000 people, 10,000 people. And here you are trying to gather this data. Will it be the same? No, it won't be the same. So in my organization, it might take 2, 3, 4 hours at the initial time, at the initial point. But in another organization, it can take beyond that. So 15 minutes to even 24 hours. So once you do that, you just allow it, leave it, all right? And the fourth interface you see, I just had to do this, is this. Now, I have to show you this for a sound reason. And you're also going to see in my slide an actual tenant itself, what happens in that tenant. If you go onto the admin interface, where you have all admins, all right, there is an interface called reporting, all right? You need to click on that and do something. Now, in some organization where you have user activity, which we are going to see on the dashboard, they might not want to show the particular user. They don't want to see the particular user. Oh, is it Timothy at IG Stores? Is it Hashim? You know, on all of that. You don't want to know who is actually this person doing this, sending this email. This you don't want that. But you just want to see the adoption and all of that. What you need to do at that point in time, if you don't want, is this. If you see the interface, it says reports found in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center provide information about your organization's usage data. Your organization's data is managed by trusted cloud security and privacy safeguards. This is very important for us to see. There's the same reason why I actually allowed this. I had to do the screenshot. Some people might say, okay, fine, we are allowing Microsoft to get this data. Yes, using Power BI to do all the whole analysis. So they might see certain things that they shouldn't see. Yes, it is confidential, all of that. Nobody's reading your email if they want to. Nobody's doing that. It's just the activity. But even at that, they're still telling us that, look, whatever you see here is actually secure. No one can just come to this tenant and get this information from us and use it. No. So we need to emphasize this. Of course, when you're doing this, of course, you need to get approval as well, because some might take this up and say, oh, hey, no, we don't want to do this based on our policies in our environment. We don't want this. So you can do this by emphasizing that, look, this is a guarantee that nothing else will go out of the organization. But if you don't want to see username, like I mentioned earlier on, groups and sites and all of that, all you need to do is just check this. You check this, and then you won't be able to see the specific user. So that is how to go about it. So once you have done that, it comes to this interface. You can see here it says your data is now available. Use tenant, blah, blah, blah in Power BI to initiate your usage. So what we are going to do now is click. We'll click it and we would see what happens. Now, yes, I clicked it. What do I need to do? I actually did this in advance, but there's a particular part that I didn't do, so we are going to do it now. So I'm going to create, once you put your name, like I did earlier on, you notice Timothy Analytics. So this is what you're going to do here. So let's say I'm putting, let's use, okay. So we save other details. You can keep that. All right. So we come here and then we are going to do something. It's taking time. So we get data. Now we come to my organization and we click get data. All right. Now, what are we actually looking for? We're actually looking for a particular template that Microsoft have provided already. Now, what is that? So we search for it. So what you see here, I just search for usage. You can see here, Microsoft 365 usage. You click on it. Usually it comes with a sample. So I click, then you input your details. So let me put my details. This is Timothy. You input your details. And what job title will I use? Okay. Let me use this. Use this. We are located where? Nigeria. What number? You put your details, and then we go. Because you need to read this. This is very important for us to read. I know some of us might not like reading all of that, but it's important that you read it. Once you agree with it, fine. You continue. So yes, you need to install, and this might take some time. Once it installs, the next interface you will see is requesting for our tenant ID. So while that is going, you can actually get your tenant ID by just opening another interface and you go to Azure just to make it easy for us to see. And because we are going to use that, we are connecting actually our tenant to it. So all you need to do is click on Active Directory, and then you are going to see your tenant ID. And Microsoft have made it easy. Imagine someone typing these letters and numbers. You can make mistake. So what they've done for us is we can copy it. Just click on it, you copy it, and we go back. So it might take some time. Yes. Thank you. It says it's ready. So what we need to do, what you see at the first instance is a sample, all that we've been talking about. You see a sample that Microsoft have done for us. This is not the real one. All right, so you can see here now the overview that I mentioned earlier, you can see it's dropping. You can see the activation. I want to spend some time here to just say some few things much more. You can see what is actually happening, like we mentioned, 2020 to January, February, you see here, 2021, February, it started in March, and then you can see what has been happening. Emails read, number of activities, the number of users that were active. Now, but interestingly, let's look at that of the activity that I mentioned earlier on. So you can see in this organization, we have Microsoft, we can see the various countries, all right? And you can see from the dashboard, you can see the top user is actually Microsoft. For that particular month, you can see this is what, 25 million. You can see the departments that are doing quite well. The top first, most times on the template is the first top 10. The first top 10, you see that. So you can see what is actually happening. So let's go down a bit. I'm going to select one department, one company, and then we're going to drill down on it, because this is exactly what you're going to see on your own tenant as well. You have different departments. Remember, it is picking these details from your Active Directory. So I'm going to pick Canada. I just like the name Canada, so I'm going to pick it. I know. Now, so in Canada, you can see the departments that are in Canada, all right? So there are 3. So but this time, I'm not going to pick all departments. I'm going to pick just one. Let's say the Enterprise Cloud. Now I have someone, let's say in Canada, I have James. Maybe the email, what you normally see is the person's full details on the display name, and then you see the email address. On my own slide, I had to, cover that up. So you can see the departments. You can filter that. Now, if you filter then, like I mentioned earlier on, you can see total number of activities. What's actually happening during that month? What did the person do? You see it. The total emails read. That individual, he read these emails. You can see it. and a total email sent. For that particular month, he sent about, we have here for the first user there is 451. The total number of emails he received or she received was actually 4,705. And meetings that he sent out, you see here 46. So this person is actually active. Imagine in 30 days, he sent out 46 meetings. So on an average of 1 point something every day, especially in quotes, you are working from home, this person is active. You see total number of meetings that he attended or she attended, you see 68. And meetings that he canceled or she canceled, you can see it. Meetings declined, an appointment created, it's 0. So this gives you what is actually happening in a particular department. You can go granular to understand all of this because these are yardstick to measure the performance of people. Are they actually working or not? So we need to pitch this to our management. We need to tell them that, yes, we can do this. We see what is actually happening because we are using Office 365 usage analytics. So at your own time, you can drill more. This is just for Exchange. How about OneDrive? You see what is actually happening. I'm going to collapse it now to all so we can get more details. To all. So you refresh so you can see for OneDrive, for SharePoint, for Skype for Business, for Teams, like we mentioned in earlier on, you see all of these at a glance. Nobody's doing, cover up Timothy. Well, I like the way he works, but based on this report, he's not doing well. So in our report, we need to adjust it. No, it is what is actually happening in your tenants. That is what you will see. So if the person is not doing anything, you can easily see it. So this helps management to make wise decisions as respect the use of licenses, who is actually working, and much more. So at your own time, try it, use it. We are not saying go to your live environment and do this if you have not done it. You need to get approval anyway. You need to discuss it with your management and they need to see this. There are various ways Microsoft have made it possible for us to, test this. At your own private time, you can reach out to me or Jumoke. I'm sure she has a lot how we can test this ourselves. So remember that we went to Azure Active Directory and we copied our tenant ID. So what we need to do is just paste it here. All right, and then we click next and we just allow some time and then we proceed. So yes, take note of this, very important. You need to take note of it and then we click connect. For some time, for some, of course, it will request for your ID again, you sign in with that and then we just allow it. This will actually show you what is on your tenant. Remember, like I mentioned earlier on, for some tenants, it might take up to 20, 15 minutes. And some tenants, it might take up to 24 hours for you to get what is actually in your environment. So we encourage you, please. We encourage you, try this in your own tenant. Try this. Microsoft have provided a lot of tools that can help us to see what is actually happening in the environment. Are we making the right investment? Are we using the right licenses? Are we enabling our organization? Are we enabling the users rather in our organization so that they can do much more, collaborate, share information, and of course, be the best in what they do. Please, if you have any question, now is the time to ask.
Oh, this is wow, this is interesting, I mean, I've taken it all in, to be honest. And then the fact is that I'm loving the fact that you've not spoken anything about license, because anybody that hear this topic, the first thing they will think about is that, so how much is it going to cost me to get this, for me to have this rich visualization about my data, the activities of my tenants and all of that. How much is it going to cost me? So
Well,
if we have some people having that question, what would be your answer to them, please?
thanks for that. Thank you for bringing that up. It is actually free. The only thing you are buying is just to get your Power BI Pro license. But you can use it for free for the 60 days or so. You can use it for free. But after that, you need to purchase your Power BI Pro. So it's not for everyone in the organization, but at least for all those that need to have access to this information, they need to have the Power BI Pro at some point in time. But in terms of Microsoft Usage Analytics, it is actually free. Just connect, just follow this process. And you can see, I don't know if you remember when we went to usage, I did, if you notice, if we go then, you see this has to do with files, right? Files stored 25% up, 9 files on SharePoint. You can get the same information here. You can get the same information here. So, Jumoke, thanks again for that question. It is actually free. It is actually free. This has no problem. Yeah.
So one begins to think from a value add, really, when you look at it, I mean, from a value add perspective, you see how free it is for you to make this report available for your customer, even for you, probably as a partner that is supporting any customer, and then they can actually make very intelligent decision ahead of times. If they look at it, okay, where can we drive adoption? Where can we, do more, or where are we doing less? And then, okay, there is this gap here, we need to improve on more users and all of that. So my other question would be my question would be this. Now, are we saying, normally you have my analytics that comes to you daily?
Yes.
Is it from this place is picking that information to bring to you? If I want, like for me, my head used to think a lot. I can get this out for someone that probably, I mean, your line manager at a point can come pick, check what you're doing at a particular point in time,
Yes.
So it is such structured like that. So it's not that maybe for a line manager or an HOD is not seeing for the whole department, but he's only seeing for specific people in his department. Do you have an idea how one can go about that? And I think I've put two questions in one, actually.
Okay. All right. I wish I can go into a live, much more a live environment that has data. But the question you asked again is, my analytics, is it the same with this?
Yeah.
Well, yes, to some items, and no. Primarily, the data that is actually being used is this. Everything that you see on usage, everything that you see on usage, all right?
Mm.
This, what you're actually seeing is 60 activities. 60 activities for who? You don't know who, all right? You don't know who. But with the Power BI, it can break it down, goes granular now and says, okay, fine, Timothy did this, Timothy did this, these are the number of activities carried out. So you can export that. So analytics, my analytics is more for individuals, it's more of your activity. Oh, how's your schedule like? Are you getting number of, it's actually looking at your Outlook itself. For instance, I'm replying to a particular email and I said, I'll get back to you. All right. It interprets that that's an activity. That's a feedback that you need to action. And so it gives you that report early hours of the day. For me, I know I get around a few minutes to 7 of between to 7, 6:58 or 7:05 a.m. I get that. I see that. So it's quite different. That is actually looking at your calendar and your outlook, what you see. So it's more personalized. But this has to do with the entire organization. So there are certain details that this will not provide, but in terms of what is actually happening, mails received, mail sent, it won't tell you at this point in time, oh, he received 50 emails and this is what, no. But it can tell you the total activities that you carried out. So it's slightly different anyway, slightly different. But what you can also do, if, for instance, your line manager, at this interface, usually on a production environment where you have user activity, you can export this either to Excel or to, Excel, and do some much more granular work if you don't want to use, the interface here in terms of, okay, scrolling down and then looking at the individual that, okay, Timothy, what did he do for the month of April? So it's slightly different. My analytics focuses much more on your outlook and your calendar, what actually happens. But this is the entire organization.
Very well said. Very well explained. I like that explanation. I think it makes it easier for us to distinguish between the two. So at this point, please, do we have anyone? I don't want to be the only one asking the question. So if we have anyone amongst the audience that have any question, please, we can take it now. Any question from anywhere? So I bet I actually want to start making this as a value add for my customers, I can give you this reports, and then it position you as one that makes, this is, the quarterly, okay, this is how you guys are using Office 365. So we encourage you to do this. So in some sense, when you made mention of the software asset management exercise that normally takes place, in some way, you've already, I don't think the map 2 will even give me a very intelligent view as this, really. The map 2 may not give me this, but I think this even gives me more intelligent view when it comes to the cloud solution. Then I can use the map 2 for things on premise. I think this is really great. And then it's so easy with just few clicks. You're done setting it up. So I think yes, okay. We are behind time already, but no problem. I think I enjoyed this session, and I want to thank you so much for taking our time to share this knowledge with us. I guess none of our audience have any question, but if you do, probably maybe if you can't speak now, if you have any question in the future, like you said, reach out to Timothy or myself. We can always help. This is really, really nice. I thank you once again for attending and taking out time to share this with us. And thank you to everyone that has been on this call. Next week, unfortunately, we might not be able to have the same session. Reason why? Because we know next week is going to be a public holiday in Nigeria. I think yes, I don't know whether it's worldwide, but I think for my country, I know. Because of the Muslim break, our Muslim brothers and sisters are going to be having their own session. So we might not be able to have another session next week, but in 2 weeks' time, we will be back and then we'll be informing another very important speaker that will be coming on to this show. So do well to fill our evaluation form. And if you want to also volunteer as a speaker, please, it is a community thing. We all contribute to the community, and then you're very welcome. Once again, thank you so much, Timothy. We really appreciate this, and we really appreciate the knowledge that you've shared with us. And with this, I'd like to say to everyone, do enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a very splendid weekend and take care. Stay safe. Make sure you observe social distancing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.